Good morning, Ed. How are you?
Good morning, Richard.
Thank you so much for joining us on Rare Awareness Radio. Folks, we are joined by Ed McGrath, and Ed is going to take us on, I think, a pretty exciting journey, your journey with myositis. And I'm really excited to talk with you. And we're always very grateful when folks like yourself give your time to come on and give us a conversation around a very important topic. So thank you very much, Ed. Maybe we could just start by you saying hello, maybe introduce yourself a little bit.
Hello, my name is Ed McGrath. Marilyn McGrath is my wife. She has dermatomyositis. We live in Troy, New York, which is about 5 miles north of Albany, New York, the capital of New York. And we live in a small community. And we've been together for 50 years, married for 49 years this
Awesome.
month.
That's awesome.
So we've been together for a long time.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge a lot of the work that you and Marilyn have been doing around myositis and the rare disease community in general. So thank you for that work. I always stand in awe of folks like you and your wife who are always seemingly putting themselves second, even though you are the ones who are affected, are putting yourself second to advancing awareness, to advancing community. So thank you for doing that. Can we talk a little bit about, you said, wow, 49 years married, 50 years together. Talk about the journey, I guess, of when the kind of rare disease began. How did it kind of first start to present itself? And I know there was time before Marilyn was actually diagnosed, but I'm interested
Sure.
to hear how that kind of started, I guess.
We were on our a trip to Jamaica for our anniversary
Mm,
because we like to travel and worked hard together. And
yeah.
we noticed after the trip that, and actually before the trip ended, that Marilyn started to feel a lot of fatigue
Mm,
and also had the skin problems pop up, which
mm,
we weren't really accustomed to or used to. So it was it was um, it was showing up, and it was like, it's not normal, so we knew something was not right.
right.
Marilyn felt that something was off.
Yeah.
So that started the journey,
Mm,
um, in seeking help and an understanding of what was going on.
sure.
Um, and so it started with our family practitioner,
Right.
and then it took off from there. As I always say, Marilyn suffers from a rare disease. Rarely have people heard of the disease,
Right.
including doctors. Rarely do people understand it, even if they've heard of it.
Mm,
Rarely does it get research funding because it's not
right.
widely known.
It's not
And
cancer or heart disease or
yeah,
we.
exactly. So you
Yep.
get the breadcrumbs from the research that falls out from that,
Right.
and rarely do insurance companies fully support it.
I had not heard of myositis myself. And I'm also a neophyte to the rare disease community, having only been part of this rare disease awareness network for the last, almost a year now. It'll be a year in July. So I'm a newbie as well to this. So maybe it would help. You mentioned the fatigue, the weakness, the sort of skin related symptoms that Marilyn experienced. Can you talk a little bit about the symptom, the syndrome itself, Ed, so people can understand it?
Yeah, the there's different myositises.
Mhm.
There's poly, dermato, there's IBM, which is inclusion body myositis. Maryland's is dermato, which means the skin is affected and the muscle,
Mm,
both. So in Marilyn's case, she had severe rashes. And to put it in context for people, if you are familiar with shingles,
sure.
um, envision having shingles and having it rear its ugly head several times in
Mm,
what's called uh, flashes, if you will.
okay. Yep.
Um, and Also from the muscle fatigue, not being able to do everyday things, little
Right.
things like dry your hair or
Yep.
walk
Mhm.
or vacuum or little things that everybody takes for granted.
Sure.
You lose that ability
Mm.
from the muscle standpoint, and there's a lot of pain associated with it as well. So that's a double whammy, if you
Yep.
will, when you have DM, as we call it.
Yeah. And we talk a lot on this show, Ed, about this concept of like a diagnostic odyssey, right? Like how long
Yeah.
it unfortunately takes. You mentioned you were in Jamaica, you're having a nice time, it's your anniversary, you come back, you meet your family practitioner, they start to try to understand, oh, she's got fatigue, she's got weakness, she's got this rash. How long did it take before you received an accurate diagnosis, Ed?
Well, the first thing that happened is they try to put you in a box.
Right. Sure.
Where do you belong based on the symptoms you have?
Mhm.
Do you have cancer? Do you have ALS? Do you have whatever?
Sure.
And so that started with the family practitioner, who then sent us to a skin doctor,
Mhm.
and the dermatologist said, "Oh, no, 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 no! What you have is lupus."
Oh, geez.
And
Autoimmune.
so
Yep.
that's what her first diagnosis was.
Mm.
And that whole process took, and I'm saying it in a couple of seconds here, but it took 2
Oh
years
my gosh.
to
Wow.
get to the rheumatologist who fully understood myositis and actually is the first one that diagnosed Marilyn with dermatomyositis.
Did you have to leave? You've mentioned, you're in the Troy area. That's, upstate New York for folks who don't know. Did you have to travel outside of the greater New York area in order to find the help that you needed?
Luckily, the doctor that Marilyn found, he's now retired. His name was Lee Shapiro.
Mm.
I call him the man because he was actually in Albany, New York,
Okay.
because we have
Sure.
uh, a lot of medical facilities in this area because it's the capital.
Right.
He happened to be a rheumatologist who specializes in scleroderma, but understood myositis and
Mm.
had written papers and was known in the medical community for his knowledge of myositis.
Amazing. I mean, so many times when we have folks like you on this show, it is this like I guess I'll call it a happy coincidence, Ed, or what have you, but they happen to have the resources. Like you said, you were in close to the capital of Albany. There's great medical centers in Albany. And thank God for that, right? Because so often that isn't the case for people, right? They don't live. I live in Boston. I have
Okay.
access to tremendous medical centers as well. So I know that sometimes it's really helpful for people to kind of understand what the different associations and foundations can play in helping them when they don't live like you and I in an area where we're fortunate to have these types of services. So, can you talk a little bit about TMA and sort of how it impacted your journey?
Yeah. So we immediately tried to find out before we got to Dr. Shapiro, what is this? What is myositis? What is
Yep.
lupus?
Yep.
And so we did a lot of research on the internet. Unfortunately, there wasn't people like you around who were helping get the word out
Right.
and educate people. So we did a lot of research. It wasn't until we found the association called Myositis, the Myositis Association,
Mhm.
we started to understand, hey, look, there's other people that have this disease. So there's 1 in 100,000 that get this disease. And most times, like Marilyn thought, I'm weird, I'm odd because I have this disease.
Yeah.
And then we found TMA, as it's called,
Mhm.
and found, hey, look, there's other people who have this disease. And they actually have a conference every year, as well as internet options and available to people who can't travel.
Mm.
And so we went to our first TMA um, conference in 2013 in Las Vegas and said, wow, look at all these other people who have this disease.
Yeah.
And look at all these doctors that are here that I can talk to directly.
Yep.
And we were hooked, and we got information like we couldn't believe. And we got to know people who were suffering from the same disease.
Sure.
Um, say rare, as we said earlier, it's rare to meet somebody else that has it.
Right. Right.
And so TMA became a real source for us.
And is it something where I know COVID hurt a lot of these conferences and things, but does TMA still do this annual meeting? Are you folks still involved?
Yes, we'll be in Texas in a couple of months
Oh, wow.
because they move the conference to different
Sure.
states,
Yep.
and they do that on purpose so that people can attend from areas who may not be able to travel to the other side of the country.
Right.
We've been to 10 of them,
Wow.
and you think, well, what are you going to get out of it because you've been to them before?
Sure. Yeah, why go again?
There isn't a conference we go to where we don't either meet new people or meet friends that we've made now, or find out medical advances, medical options. Marilyn's treatment she's currently on now, we discovered at a TMA conference, and it's
I
called IVIG.
Yeah, and I wanna talk about IVIG in a second, but before I do that, I'm also thinking about how you say, "Well, why do we go back to this conference year after year? We've been there 10 years or 10 times." I can imagine the person who's walking in there for the very first time, and they get to talk to Ed and Marilyn who's done this 10 times, right? I mean, that's gotta be pretty special as well.
It really is. We've even the last conference, Marilyn and I and two friends of ours, we actually taught one of the sessions.
Oh, wow.
Um, we I took all the patients because I call myself a partner. I
Yeah,
don't call support. I Because it's a disease that you go through together. So
sure.
I took the actual patients,
Mm,
and Marilyn took the care partners
mhm.
with another person, just to give them the perspective and the ability to maybe ask questions they may not feel comfortable asking their spouse or their significant other.
I appreciate that. That's pretty cool that you guys took the counter. Yeah, you took the patient, she took the partners. That's really intuitive. So let's talk for a minute about IVIG. Maybe you could give us a little understanding of that and how would these cert treatments have started to make a meaningful difference, especially for Marilyn.
Yeah, in the beginning, we were prednisone is what Marilyn started out on. Um, Prednisone's a, a medicine you love to hate because it
Mhm.
helps people who have autoimmune problems, but it also has nasty side effects. And Marilyn was on it for 7 8 years.
Yeah.
So we went from there to different medications, trying different things because, again, with a rare disease, it's not like somebody comes out and says, "Oh, you have this. We've got all this research that says do this, and this is what's going to happen for you, and
Right.
here's the positive result." You get the breadcrumbs
Mhm.
um, from other research. So she was on prednisone, she was on Praquenil, she went into methotrexate,
Wow.
she went to oral pills. Then I gave her shots
Mm,
for methotrexate. She then went into a Rituxan
mm,
because the methotrexate wasn't working.
right.
Unfortunately, she got septic and it almost killed her. She was in a hospital for
Wow.
quite a while.
Wow. Yeah.
And then at the TMA conference, we learned about IVIG, and IVIG involves infusion, and it infuses antibiotics collected from other people that are healthy,
Huh.
and then they put it into your bloodstream. So Marilyn has a port under her skin,
Sure.
and every 4 weeks she gets infusions that take about 3 4 hours, and it happens 2 days consecutively,
Mhm.
and that IVIG gets put in her. It's actually called Gamaplex. That's what she gets,
That's what you guess.
and
Okay. Yep.
she gets it distributed from a company we use called Kaba Fusion,
Mhm.
and they now come to the house. We don't
Oh,
have to go to the infusion center,
that's
which
great.
is great for Maryland.
Yeah, very
Uh,
convenient. Yeah.
and so far, it's actually put the disease in check. Maryland's never been in remission.
Right.
IVIG has enabled her to get back a little bit of her ability. She's actually walking a little now better.
That's great.
Um, she feels better. And although we can't, go out on the dance floor like we used to,
Everything's relative.
yeah, we still sway to the music now, but it's given her back some freedom
Nice.
that she lost for the last several years, a lot of
Yeah.
years.
I can imagine. And how amazing that that was something that you discovered through the Myositis Association and the conferences and, all of these different types of medications that she went through before you found something now, like you say, that showing some real potential for her. That's phenomenal. Ed, you had mentioned a second ago a little bit about insurance, and we've certainly talked to other folks on the show, caregivers, partners, patients like yourself. We talked to one physician who was also a caregiver of a child with a rare disease, and was like, wow, we had really good insurance, and we were really lucky as a result of that. Um, have you seen sort of? I'm sure through the travels you've had through the association and other things, and I'm not here to bash on insurance companies certainly, but there are insurance issues that are associated with this.
Yeah, and I don't call it bashing, I call it the, information because
Mm,
what we've discovered over the years and first of all, you've gotta be your own advocate,
right.
and Marilyn is very much her own advocate, and so she's probably as knowledgeable as anybody I've met
Mm,
now with somebody that has a rare disease.
right,
But here's the issue, when you go to an insurance company, you're looking for help.
right,
And part of the problem I've discovered over the years is a lot of the decisions that um, are made from a dollars and cents standpoint
100%.
and not from what helps the person. Here's an example. We had an insurance company that was covering her Rituxan that she was getting,
Mhm,
and everything was going well. She was getting it before she had the septic, and then all of a sudden, out of a clear blue sky, the insurance company we had said, "Oh, we're sorry, but we're no longer going to cover that for you."
jeez.
So I did some research. I called the company and I said, "Okay, wait a minute. Why are you stopping?"
Mhm,
And then I discovered, well, here's the case, Mr. McGrath. If your wife had cancer, then we would continue the coverage. But since she doesn't have cancer and she has a rare disease,
right,
we can no longer cover. And I said, well, wait a minute. It does the same thing for Maryland that it does for a cancer patient. So why do you cover one perspective and
right.
not the other?
One diagnosis and not for the other. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
and I've learned that over the years, basically what it amounted to was, well, there's a mean to the ends, unfortunately, with a cancer patient in many cases.
right.
But somebody with a rare disease who's fighting the battle and living and learning how to live with it instead of die from it,
Mhm.
they discovered that, well, you know what? We're losing a lot of money in this. So let's make some decisions. And unfortunately, I think the bean counters of the world made a decision and said,
Right.
okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop it here and continue it here.
Is part of what you are doing at, these different conferences and other things you're attending, I'm assuming you're talking about the sharing about the reimbursement implications as well as the clinical and medical?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things TMA has done well, an
Yeah,
awareness campaign. And it's not just, I mean, this particular podcast that you offer is
exactly.
phenomenal. It's one of those examples of what we need more of when you
Sure,
have suffer from a rare disease.
sure.
But TMA also has had programs. Just recently, the month of May was an awareness month,
Mm,
and we contacted our local congressman and supported a bill, and he supported it to make an awareness of myositis month for May.
mm. Oh, wow.
So TMA has programs where there's fundraising, there's information. They have smaller groups which are called kites in different areas, like Miami has one. So
Cool.
people that are not able to travel can
Right.
still contact somebody in their area, and as well as research. We've sent letters and through TMA contacted people for pushing um, more research for rare diseases.
Mm,
We supported one in the New York State Assembly, and our assemblyman actually was a supporter of it. Actually came to the House and met with Marilyn
wow.
to understand it, and he's actually a pharmacist by trade, so
Oh,
he fully understood it and went back into the assembly and said, "Hey, you know what? We got to do more for people with rare diseases."
yeah, no, I'm how again, how fortunate to have your assemblyman also have medical clinical training as a pharmacist and be able
Well, and I'm pretty persuasive sometimes myself, so
I bet, especially with, the challenges that you have been faced with as it pertains to both medical professionals and treatment access. You have to be persuasive, right? You mentioned Marilyn's a great advocate. I'm sure you're a great advocate for her as well. Um, During the COVID years, I mean, did you ab were you able to kinda keep the online support groups going? You kinda mentioned a little bit about that. I'd love to hear more about how you've continued to kinda keep people connected in between the TMA conferences.
yeah, you said I mean, you brought up a good point too. When COVID hit, people with rare diseases like Maryland's, where your immune system doesn't work,
Right.
you have to be triple
Yeah,
careful.
hyper vigilant, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. So we got our shots, and during COVID, we also had even more of a disconnect because with our own family, with our 3 kids and our 6 grandkids,
Can't see you.
you couldn't take the risk of getting COVID.
Mm,
because somebody with a rare disease, it's just not something you want to even attempt.
right.
Um, Even to the point, just quickly, where our kids for Christmas, we set up a bubble in the garage. My son bought it. It's a weather bubble that you go to sports events with.
Oh,
We put,
sure.
we put Marilyn in the bubble, and the grandkids were in a table on the opposite end of the garage, and opened the presents from Mama, as she's called.
Yeah,
Um, so during COVID, it was very, it was difficult.
sure.
Marilyn, through the internet, has been involved in various groups, and continues to do that.
Mm,
She was also asked to, if other people could contact her,
okay.
and she's said absolutely. So she's talked to people from different parts of the state
Mm,
and the country, actually.
wow.
And her group actually meets on a Thursday, just like this, on a Zoom,
Nice.
and continues the conversation support for each other. And then when you go to the TMA conference and some of those members are there, it's even more important to say,
Yeah,
"Hey, face to face, and you know what? Now COVID's over. Give me a hug."
yeah. I've met you. I've met you in person. Yeah, that's outstanding. I'm actually, as you've been talking, Ed, I'm a little curious. What is your background? What was your professional background?
My background was, I was a vice president of operations
Okay.
for first for a furniture industry.
Okay.
But before that, Marilyn and I both worked for a company called Troy-Bilt Rototiller Company,
Oh, very
which
cool.
made power equipment.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I've been involved in business for a long
Yeah,
time.
your business and industry is your background.
Yeah, business manager. I retired and I actually went back to work. I work 3 days a week now.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. I wanna talk a little bit about and this may seem like an obvious question, Ed, but we do ask this a lot. The sort of like, I wish I knew then what I know now, and sort of the advice you often, or the message, I guess, if you're not the type of person that likes to give advice, but the message that you kinda give to these newly diagnosed patients, these newly diagnosed families, and what is how do you kind of, help them see clarity and what I can only imagine be a very overwhelming time for them?
The first thing and Marilyn's very good at it, is letting people know, listen, you're not alone.
Mhm.
Um, Although it's called a rare disease and you've never heard of it, or somebody else in your area has never heard of it, um, you're not alone. And there are certain things that you need to do. Number one, you need to be your own advocate. So
Right.
Marilyn's very good at explaining to people who are newly diagnosed. One comes to mind that lives in Long Island that Marilyn kind of took under her wing.
Mm.
We actually drove to Long Island, went to her wedding when she got married
Oh, that's
last year.
awesome.
But gives them the feeling of support and an understanding that they don't always get.
Right.
One of the problems with myositis is also when you look at somebody with myositis, other than IBM patients, people look at you and go, "What's wrong with
Yeah,
you? I don't see
you
anything wrong.
you look fine. Yeah.
Yeah, you look fine." And there are things that are happening to you that not even your family understands.
Right.
And there's certain things that you need to look out for. Um, Little things like when Marilyn used to try to get up out of a chair, she couldn't do it.
Mm.
So I had to help her. Well, not everybody can help the right way. So my sons and other people would say, "Oh, let me help you out and
Yeah.
grab your arm and pull you." No, that's not what you do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to hook around the shoulder and
Fortunately, you're
lift
gonna
and
hurt her.
pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
So there's techniques that we've learned,
Mm.
which we share. There
Yeah.
are tools that we found through TMA and online that have worked for us that we share.
Mm.
Um, Little things like there's a small handle that you put on your door when you're getting out of the car. What it allows you to do is it hooks onto, it looks like a hook,
Mhm.
and it hooks onto the bar that the door closes on.
Okay.
And it allows you to push off of it. So those little things, there's a stepper that we found at the TMA conference. We share those kinds of
Right.
ideas and informations of things we know we've worked that have worked for us.
Such
Um,
practical things, but so necessary. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the little things.
Right.
Um, and as Marilyn says, we'll go one step at a time,
Yeah.
and she does. But being able to reflect back to people who have just found out they have myositis,
Right.
when they go, okay, what is it? What do I do? Where do I go? Um, and finding a good doctor
Yeah.
has been truly hard for a lot of people we've met with first timers, as we call them.
I wanted to kind of follow on to my question about the advice that you give to patients and care partners, with sort of the advice you sort of give to, or if you could talk to a doctor and say to him or her, look, if you're working with rare disease patients, can you please keep this in mind? Like, what advice would you give to a doctor?
The first thing I would say to a doctor is I know you went to medical school, and I know there's probably one chapter on rare diseases.
Right.
Um, so what you need to do is you need to pay attention to
Mm,
what the patients are saying. You need to learn and educate again yourself for what that particular person is going through.
sure.
An example would be our family doctor one time prescribed Marilyn some medicine for a problem she was going through. Well, again, I call the guy the man. He's retired now, but I'd say, no, 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 no. We're not taking that medicine until you first check with Dr. Shapiro.
Yeah, check with the man first.
Check
Yeah.
with the man. And obviously, and here's what happened. In one particular case, he said, Absolutely, Marilyn, under no circumstances do you take that medicine because it has an adverse effect with one of the medicines you're on for myositis."
There you go. Hmm.
Boom.
Yep.
He knew that because he was very educated in that particular medicine and because of Marilyn's disease.
Sure.
But the family doctor didn't understand that, and
Right.
again said, "Oh, well, you have this. We'll just take this, and you'll be okay."
Mm.
Not always the case when you're a rare disease person.
Yeah, no, that's great advice for any physician practitioner who might be listening. So you've got TMA coming up in a couple months, you mentioned. What other projects, advocacy efforts are you kind of engaged in, Ed, in the near future that you might want to make sure we hear about? And then, of course, most importantly, we want to be able to support and engage with the work you're doing. So please, give us some thoughts.
Well, one of my thoughts is what we're doing right now. Um,
Thank you.
Truly, I mean, for someone to be able to tap into more information,
Mhm.
more access is critical because it just never existed.
Right.
So educating yourself, finding avenues that you can use for educating yourself and educating your family and friends,
Right.
um, and care partners who can learn different techniques
Mhm.
is always beneficial. Getting on the horn with your congressman, your senator, and pushing politically the fact that there are a lot of funds out there that get distributed through the government. Well, lately there's a lot of people that are not working through the government, but in general, there's a lot of funding that comes up, and being a voice for myositis is
Mm.
very important to not only your politicians or your representatives, but the insurance company,
Right.
and locally, we've done a lot of fundraising. We've done it with through TMA, and we've supported the awareness programs because it's important to get, uh, you know, when you have a rare disease or you have a disease and you see out in the public, and I'll use Peter Frampton as an example. Peter Frampton has myositis.
Really?
He
Wow.
does. He was awarded a presentation in one of the conferences,
Mm.
but there's not a lot of people out there that are famous that say, "Oh yeah, I have myositis."
Right. Sure.
They say, "I have Parkinson's, I have this, I have that." So getting people to come forward
Yeah.
and that helps the process because when a well-known person says, "I have this," all of a sudden people's interest is piqued, and so we try to pique interest if we can
Right.
when we go, where we go, and educate people on what myositis is.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes it's just teaching them how to say it.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I think I definitely mispronounced it a couple of times. I appreciate that. Ed, again, I stand in awe of people like you and Marilyn who continue to put yourself second and push for the advocacy and push for the education and the community. So thank you for doing that. I know that folks can go over to myositis.org, myositis.org. There they can make a gift, they can get involved, they can see MyoCon. Folks can also find us on rareawarenessradio.org, where this episode will be in the very near future. Once again, Ed, I want to thank you for coming on and spending some time with us this morning. Wish you guys the best of luck. a great trip to Dallas and keep doing what you're doing, please.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.